And welcome to episode 47 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing today, Todd?
Good. Except for after last week's show, I'm really nervous that we're on some people's huge HD TVs. So, yeah, right.
Well, if we are, we hope you're enjoying all the grandeur that is Todd and myself.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's actually been a fairly quiet week, which is nice before the whole Google I/O, WWDC, E3 fiasco weekends where we are working very, very long hours. I will say E3's press day is the worst one by far.
Yeah.
We start at like 8 a.m. and I think I usually get out of here around 10 p.m. or so.
I've covered an E3 before. It was tough. It's a little different than other shows. Sorry, I have my puppy here if you see me looking at it. A little different than other shows because the public's there too. So it's kind of
yeah. Well, this year they're adding even more on-stage press events, so it's going to be a long day, very long day. But we had a couple things we wanted to talk about. I wanted to know, Todd, did you ever play any musical instruments?
Yes, saxophone.
Did you ever try playing your saxophone while driving?
I didn't.
I started on the trombone and then moved to the tuba. So I can also say that I never attempted to play while driving. However, we bring this up because this week it came out that the autonomous cars that are being tested have been in a couple accidents. Most of them, though, none of them have been caused by the autonomous driving.
Right.
They have been caused either by other cars or by the autonomous cars being under the control of the drivers that are monitoring them. Mm-hmm. But the fact that Google in their report came out and said, we've seen so many crazy things when driving down the road, and we've seen people reading books and all that. But the one that killed me was the guy who goes, we even saw someone playing a trumpet.
Yeah. Who plays a trumpet while driving?
How does that even work?
I mean, maybe in the future when these, autonomous cars are there, then you're kind of sitting there, you can play the trumpet all you want, but
yeah, well, and that's the thing, that came across my mind, once autonomous cars do become a reality, which it's clear that they're going to become one, how many people are going to be freaked out driving down the road and they're going to look over and some guy is napping?
Right, exactly.
There's going to have to be, I think, some sort of label on the car that says autonomous.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. We haven't even thought about that. Like, are they going to be color coded, or like, how are you going to know? So you don't just sit scared. You're like, whoa, what's that guy doing?
Exactly.
But I think one of the things, because currently, like when we were at CES and the Audi A7 concept, I think it drove from San Francisco to Vegas by itself. You had to have somebody behind their wheel the whole time. So, but yeah, that would be scary. Still, you see someone napping behind the wheel.
Yeah, I mean,
pulled over for that.
The second I heard about autonomous cars, as you know, I have to drive 3 hours to get to an airport whenever I fly out to Irvine.
Right.
I hate that drive. Hate it. But it's a very laid-back highway. It's a dual lanes both ways, hardly anyone on it. It's a great highway. It's just a boring drive.
Right.
I'm going to nap. If I have an autonomous car, I am going to be napping during that 3-hour drive. Yeah. Somebody's going to look over, though, and see me and go, what's happening?
What's that guy doing?
Call the police or whatever. When these cars first hit the road, you're going to have to be expected to be pulled over by the police who knows how many times.
Right.
Because they're not going to understand them. They're not going, unless there is some sort of label on them saying self-driving, autonomous, whatever.
Because are they going to have rules that say, like, you still have to keep your eyes on the road and stuff like that? And what's then they're safer, but they're not really more fun.
Exactly. Right? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how those work out. But getting back to the whole accident situation, the first time one is in a major accident, we're not going to be able to escape this news.
Right. People are going to go nuts and they're going to, damn autonomous driving for a long time, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Unless the thing is, When I was in Sweden earlier this year with Volvo, checking out their self-driving cars and what they're doing on the front. And Volvo's whole plan is to like have no accident or no serious injuries in their cars by 2020. So if we get to the point where cars are super, super safe anyway, and not just Volvo, but everybody, and then they're self-driving and then they get in accidents, but nobody's hurt, then maybe, it's a little more acceptable. I think it's just so long as nobody's hurt in these things.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, I did read this week also that the first self-driving semi has been approved.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
I have mixed feelings on that idea.
Yeah, why does that seems so much scarier? Because when something goes wrong with the semi, something goes very wrong.
Has no one ever seen Maximum Overdrive?
Yeah, right. But also, I mean, if it tips over, then you've got stuff all over the road and traffic, and maybe they're safer. I mean, maybe you can keep this semi going 35 miles an hour, and I feel good about that. Except everybody knows one of the hard things about shipping is that those guys got to make their hours.
Right, and that's where I can see an advantage to it, because I've known truckers that have pushed and pushed and pushed to make those delivery times, and they fake their logs, they do all sorts of things, they take drugs to stay awake, all of that stuff. So semis already are fairly dangerous, and by no means am I condemning the entire semi industry. I'm talking about very specific cases. But semis in general are already scary, because they are gigantic. They, anything goes wrong, it's a catastrophe.
Right.
And so now the idea of a robot driving one, I'm just like,
Right. But Google was saying, so I guess back to the original stories. Earlier this week, there was a report from the AP that said there had been 4 accidents since September of these autonomous driving cars. 3 were Google, 1 was a Delphi car, DELPHI, and then Google, like their head of the autonomous driving, came out and said, well, actually there's been 11 or something like that since they started the program, and none of them have been at the fault of Google's cars. And he was saying, like, look, these things are safe, and perhaps it applies to the trucks too, because a driver, we have our field of vision, we're distracted. They said any moment during daylight hours in the United States, 660,000 people are distracted driving, something like that. And so they're saying, well, look, here's this car that has a 360-degree camera view the whole time. Like, its eyes are always on the road. And of course, there's failures, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for the concept, but I can also see where there's going to be some issues.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that they have been in some accidents, they did need to get out, and and honestly, I almost feel like they need to say something as soon as they happen. And, hey, one of our cars was in an accident today. Here's what the telemetry told us, so on and so forth. Kind of like, remember when that one reporter said that the Tesla battery life didn't live up and all that. Mm-hmm. And Elon Musk came out and went, no, here's all the
logs. Yeah.
Here's all the logs. You're lying. I don't know. I think maybe they need to make sure they're always out ahead of things.
Right.
From Brazen Franco, I play the piano while driving. With autonomous car focused mostly on decreasing car road accidents, is it possible that insurances will also become optional when autonomous completely takes over?
That's a good question.
That's an interesting question. I don't think it will become optional, but I think if rates didn't drop, you would have a really strong argument for, hey, you guys are ripping us off.
Right. Yeah. Huh. I haven't even seen any. That's a really good point. And how hard are those insurance companies lobbying against autonomous driving?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a fascinating concept. I hadn't even thought about that yet.
Yeah.
Especially imagine, teen drivers are considered the most risky.
Does the driving age change then? Does it go lower? I don't know.
It can't go lower.
But if they're not even driving,
but they would have the ability to take over unless you basically made them
still need. Yeah, I bet as long as I think in the near future is so long as you're able to take over, then you're still going to need insurance and all that kind of stuff. But maybe in the Jetsons kind of future, everything changes.
Brazen Franco brings up another good point. Will a driving license even be a requirement in the future?
Yeah, like in the super future. Like, I don't know. I always, when I'm writing these articles today, and I say like today, Domino's saying you can order pizza from Twitter, and it's like we live in the future. So now I'm thinking like the future.
I know, but
and
until
it's all coming so quickly.
I was promised flying cars.
Yeah,
I still do not have a flying car.
You can always buy a plane.
Still not the same thing,
right?
Yeah. I want like a Back to the Future 2, the wheels go under and the whole bit, or Lola from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., one of them. From Sachin Bahal, when do you think we will see autonomous cars in mass production so then anyone can buy one? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe by like 2020.
Yeah. It seems like 5 years out they'd start to come. 5-10 years. I don't know. I think one of the problems is going to be regulation, right? Like I was just talking about with that car that drove San Francisco to Vegas. Still need someone behind the wheel. There's still like a lot of things that need to change in the government. As we've seen with drones, moves kind of slow at that kind of stuff. As Amazon had to deal with drones, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Mabel has a comment on the story. Apparently.
Say hi, everybody.
Hi, Mabel. For those of you listening, Todd held up
my mini dachshund, my puppy.
Yes.
She was crying in the background.
Because Dad wasn't paying attention.
That's exactly right.
But I don't know. There's so many questions with this. It's a technology I'm very, very excited for, but so many questions to still be answered.
Right.
And hopefully we'll hear all of them at some point. But speaking of questions, why did Verizon buy AOL?
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I got in. I always come in super early in the mornings to exercise before work and all that. And I came in and I always fire Twitter up before I do anything. I'm just sitting there staring. I'm like, am I sleep deprived or is that actually happening?
Especially because they denied it not too long ago. AOL said like there's nothing going on and all that. And then it just sort of hit like Verizon's making, we're going to pay $4.4 billion for AOL. And we're sort of like, what?
Which I find interesting is about the same price Disney paid for Lucasfilm or Marvel.
Right. And what were people saying? Like just under a quarter of what WhatsApp is worth. And like four Instagrams. Just crazy.
I think they were after all those remaining dial-up customers.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. The rural people. I mean, it sounds weird, but maybe I don't know. But
yeah,
in their explanation, and that's about as deep as I went into the news. Was they needed AOL for the Internet of Things and all these like buzzwords, and I was like, what? All right. Whatever. But they do then, they get some of the, in a lot of ways, our competitors, TechCrunch and Gadget, Huffington Post and stuff like that. But then there's rumors that those are going to get spun off, at least Huffington Post. So, I mean, AOL is not just the dial-up company that we all think of, but I'm not sure why Verizon needs or wants them. Aside from, like you said, I mean, rural customers, maybe, the folks that are still on broadband, but how valuable are they really? We're still on dial-up, not broadband.
Well, I'm from Sachin Bahal. What does Verizon's acquisition of AOL entail, and what does it mean for employees and readers of the Huffington Post, Engadget, TechCrunch, and Makers? Well, it entails $4.4 billion in cash. Now, for those that aren't familiar with these types of situations, a lot of times they'll involve stock transfers or whatever. No, Verizon is just outright paying the owners of AOL. Here's $4.4 billion. Adios.
And there's like 150 million breakup fee or something like that, I think. Like
if it doesn't happen. But in general, the 4.4 billion is just, here you go, bye.
Right.
Which honestly, I can't see why this deal won't go through. I can't foresee any sort of government regulations impeding this one.
Right.
But as for what it means, I'm sure there will be some house cleaning. I don't think, however, they're going to get rid of some of the most valuable AOL properties, which are things like Huffington Post and Engadget.
Rumors said like Huffington Post could go for like $1 billion, so that'd be like a quarter of the deal, just under.
But as for TechCrunch and makers, I imagine they'll stick around. But I would say a lot of the house cleaning will be in the background. It won't be, as we call it, consumer facing. It's kind of like when we talk about TechnoBuffalo, what you, the reader, see, that's consumer facing. The version of the site we see, that's the work background stuff. But
right. And Engadget said yesterday they've had more readers than ever. So there's a lot of success there, and it doesn't sound like anything's going to change on their end.
Yeah, I don't think Engadget or Huffington Post are going anywhere. As for everything else, I don't know. Only time will tell. Right. But it's such an odd thing, and the thing I keep wondering about, they say there's still, what was it, 2.1 million dial-up users?
Something like that.
Where are they even finding modems?
They probably still have them, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah, where do you buy a modem these days?
Computers don't come with them anymore.
But the external ones. I used to have an external one.
Yeah, I had an external one for a while as well, but I can't remember the last time I even saw a modem.
Yeah, what they used to use in the PCMCIA ports, I think.
Yeah, well, on the laptops, the pop-in cards.
Yeah,
which then you'd push it on the little black thing, and the phone thing would pop out.
Yeah, it would pop out.
Yeah, oh, I remember when I bought my first one of those at I think I was in Georgia on business. I went into a Best Buy, and the guy was like, "This is so cool! Look, you push it, and it pops out. It's like some sort of James Bond thing." This was the sales clerk at Best Buy. I was like, "That's great. How much is it?" Yes, the early days of the internet. I was so happy when Ethernet came around.
Yeah, seriously.
From Brazen Franco, interesting question. Why not use the $4 billion to upgrade their own infrastructure?
Yeah, good question. I think they have been doing a lot of that anyway, but
yeah, it's there's when you're dealing with a corporation as large as Verizon, they have a situation where their stockholders expect them to acquire, expect them to expand, expect them to move into other fields. And a lot of companies the size of Verizon will have whole departments called mergers and acquisitions that are dedicated to doing nothing but this. They go over and they look over all these companies and try to see what would fit, what would answer a problem, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So
they can expand.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon situation, but at the same time, yeah, I would rather see any carrier invest $4 billion that's just laying around into their infrastructure.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's interesting, and it was funny how many people brought up stories of all the old AOL trial discs. I saw some people, saying their parents still have them around and use them as drink coasters. But
used to get those all the time. They were everywhere. In the mail and stores.
They came in magazines. They came in the mail.
Yeah.
You couldn't escape them.
No.
I remember once I got one in the mail that came in like a metal tin that was just the size of the CD. I was like, how much money is this company spending?
Yeah, and different, and like some would offer like 500 minutes or like 10,000 minutes.
Oh no, it was always hours.
Hours. So hours and hours of free AOL.
Yeah, which was all AOL was good for. But I was a CompuServe loyalist.
Yeah, I think I had Earthlink.
Yeah, I loved CompuServe. I had CompuServe and AOL for a while. I never got into Prodigy. But yeah, CompuServe and AOL, I had them both for a while, and I stuck with CompuServe. Oh, the old days of computing. So we've got some questions coming in here, and we're going to dive into them here. From David DeMille. In the rural areas, the only options are dial-up, satellite internet, and Verizon's data. Maybe moving people off dial-up and onto Verizon's network.
Right.
That's a possibility. I live in a rural farming community. Luckily, I do have cable internet here, although it's not the most stable, as Todd can attest to. If I lived further out, in one of the surrounding towns, we're surrounded by towns that start with Greencastle, Green Top, so on and so forth. Maybe I would have more of a need for dial-up, but I don't know. It's interesting. It might be a move to try to get some of those rural people, but are there enough rural people to make it worth their while? That's the big question.
Yeah.
I don't know. Very, very.
I mean, if that's their strategy and they're going after a dial-up and it is 2.1 million, then it's sort of like they just acquired customers, which is what you see in wireless when a bigger carrier acquires a smaller one.
Yeah,
T-Mobile, Metro, PCS, that kind of thing.
From Sachin Bahal, this is a story that came out this week as well. Off topic, is it true that Windows 10 is going to be the last version of Windows? Well, yes.
Yeah, the way it was phrased, sort of. Microsoft was basically saying, like, I think they're going to sort of go the way that Apple has with OS X, like Windows 10, and then they're going to do more frequent updates and just sort of keep going. And I think it was referred to as like Windows as a service, so you have Windows and you just keep going with Windows as opposed to going like we have in the past, Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Windows 10. So that's how I understood it.
Well, I think it's going to be, excuse me, folks, my iPad keeps going off, so I want to mute it. Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhat, though, like Apple in the fact that it's OS 10. I think that Windows finally got to the number 10, and okay, now we're on par with Apple. I don't know. I think that's what it's going to be, though. Like you said in your article, Todd, that it's going to be incremental updates now at this point. It almost sounds to me like Windows 10 is going to be more of a platform.
Right, exactly. Like a service, sort of a platform for everything too. Like they were saying, obviously we already know, but for phones, tablets, even the Xbox One.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how Microsoft plays this out. Honestly, I don't think your average consumer really cares what a operating system is called, although there will need to be some way to delineate, this is the newest version.
Yeah, like, please install this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people want to just sit on the old one. But, when they sell new laptops with it and stuff like that. But it's sort of easier for Apple to do that because, they're like, oh, here's Yosemite and here are new laptops for it. Whereas Microsoft, I mean, sure, they can have their partners on stage, but it's a little different. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing. I don't even remember what the numerical number is for Windows at this, or for Mac OS 10 at this point. I just know it's
10, 10, 3.
Okay, fine. But I think that's one thing Apple did wisely, that it gave them names.
Right.
So
yeah. It does.
I don't know.
It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I wonder what Microsoft might name stuff.
Well, they went from Project Spartan to Edge, so it's not too exciting.
No, I wonder if they'll go with breeds of dogs or monkeys or something.
Yeah,
who knows? It's going to be very, very interesting.
Windows 10 Mini Dachshund.
From Sachin Bahal, are any of you guys excited for Assassin's Creed Syndicate? Nope.
I was watching part of that announcement yesterday. Just the London part seems pretty cool, but and the last one I played was Black Flag, I guess, the pirate run. I didn't play Unity. I'll probably try it. I don't know. Next week, I'm excited for Witcher 3 coming out, but I'm going to be out in California actually at our Irvine office, so I won't be able to play it here. But
yeah, I've never tried Assassin's Creed.
Huh.
I've never played one of them. It's just never been anything that looked that appealing to me. Right. So it's not that I feel there's anything wrong with what they announced with Syndicate. At this point, I just don't feel like jumping into the series. So,
yeah.
But
I don't know the way they were talking about it though, how they want this to be a game that people talk about in the future and like exploration. They've done a really good job at that. I mean, we'd have to let Joey Davidson talk more to it, but I think I'm kind of excited for those aspects. Though on the site today, we said, I guess no multiplayer, which is kind of a bummer because I always like a game with some sort of multiplayer aspect.
Yeah. Speaking of Mr. Davidson, since you're out of town next week, he will be stepping into the co-host chair to host the TechnoBuffalo Show with me. I'm trying to get us on our longest run ever of uninterrupted episodes. Life. From David DeMille, the problem I see with Microsoft updates is that they don't present it. People will tend not update it. Yeah, that's exactly it. They're going to have to do something that makes you realize this is the new version of Windows 10.
This is what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I was saying. It's sort of easier for Apple with the new hardware, especially, I mean, when you look at iPhones, right? It's like WWDC in June, and then September, the new iPhone ship with it. Everybody's talking about it. They want that. Microsoft is sort of setting themselves up to do it with Surface, but we haven't really seen them do that yet, but hopefully that's sort of what they continue to do moving forward.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. From Brazen Franco, on the Win 10 topic, is Windows becoming a service a la 365? If not, how are they going to monetize on it?
Well, I wonder if they're just not going to, in the sense that, sell the other apps and services through it, sort of the way Apple does with Yosemite, right? Like you don't really pay anything, and not anymore. It's a free upgrade. So I think they're probably going that route after. I mean, we know that Windows 10 is going to be free for the first year, they said.
Yeah, I think that they'll still sell it to OEMs, but will they sell it to consumers, I think is the big question.
Right. And then I don't think they will. I mean, it's so long as you upgrade in that first year.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. From David DeMille, Todd, any updates of your Apple Watch usage over time?
I'm still wearing it, so that should be
that's actually a good sign for you.
Yeah. I really don't like this green band because not that I really care about matching, but I'm wearing a yellow shirt and it would just be easier to have a black band or something on it. Battery life, again, has been good. I'm still charging it every night, but what time is it now? It's 12:30 my time, and I was up at like 6:45 today, and it's at 94%. So it's really good battery life for me. I mean, in that sense, and again, in my review, I said that the battery life's good. People were saying, well, you've said it. Android Wear was bad at 2 days. And so I think it's just a matter. I'm impressed because it does a lot. And so for doing a lot throughout the day, 94% at 12:30 is pretty good. But I want to charge it every night. Like I like that it's always here with the apps, with the weather, with my movement. The only thing I got to say is it continuously tells me to stand up right after I sit down. Like it's the dumbest thing. I mean, I was just walking around. And then I sit down and it's like, don't forget to stand up. So that doesn't work properly. Yeah, I'm liking it. I got to say also, like I have the most basic model, which is cool, but I sort of wish I had the steel one. Just looks a little more, I don't know.
Yeah, finished. But also, do you want to spend that much money?
No, I don't. So that's the thing.
Exactly. Speaking of things like the AOL deal, from Sachin Bahal, are you guys happy at the current state of TechnoBuffalo, meaning slowly becoming more recognized and still independent? we love our independence. We really, really love our independence. The fact, as has been revealed on the TechnoBuffalo channel, we do have an investor that John took on a long time ago, who is a silent partner. He does not have any say in how we do things. But in general, we are independent. I talk to John and the buck stops with John. We don't have to go to any sort of corporate overlord. We don't have to go to anyone and ask permission to do anything. And yes, it's a hard road to go down, but life would be a lot easier with a lot more money backing us, but we're making our own way and we like it that way. We like being just us. Todd, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, yeah, I agree. And I think that, after the news yesterday too, with Verizon picking up AOL, and what does that mean for Engadget? Engadget says, we're independent editorially, and The Verge sort of tried to say, how is that possible? But The Verge has, funding from Comcast's arm too, and pointed to its own article that trashed Comcast as the worst company in America. So a lot of these companies still do have independence to some degree. I mean, if they're saying so, I believe it. But it is nice not having to deal with any of that, right? We're just not a corporate culture, not a corporate, we don't go into a huge office where there's a huge sales department and all that. And for better or worse, it's what I prefer. I like it. So yeah.
Yeah, no, we're quite happy being independent, and we plan to stay independent for a good long time.
That's right.
Also from Sachin Bahal. Off topic, I just got a original Pebble in October 2014, and I'm loving it so far. But since the Pebble time was announced, it is so tempting. I don't know if I should get it once it's available to everyone besides backers, or wait a bit longer to get one. Well, Todd and I are both backers, so we should be getting
this month. We should be getting it, right?
Hopefully. So honestly, we can't answer that till we have time to play with it. Which hopefully will be by the end of this month. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to hand my original one down to my mother, who's never had any sort of wearable, but she likes the idea of not pulling her phone out of her purse all the time. Right. I expect her to wear it for about a week before she gives up. But yeah, I'm done. I'm out. It should be. I'm looking forward to playing with it. I want to see what improvements they've done. I love the idea of having a color screen now.
Yeah, I wish I'd gone with the steel one, to be honest, though, because once that came out, I should have switched. But and now having the Apple Watch and having the Moto 360, I'm not crazy about going back to a plastic body watch, but I don't know.
Now. Also from Sachin Bahal. Hey, Sean, which one are you more excited for? Disney Infinity 3.0 or Lego Dimensions, and why? Disney Infinity 3.0, 2 words, Star Wars. I like Lego, but I'm not on the current Lego fanaticism, and I'm a huge Disney fan, so Infinity was always going to have me, but adding in Star Wars just seals the deal as far as I'm concerned. They're coming for you, Todd.
Yeah. I have breaking news here, though. I just wanted to share. Windows 10 Editions was just announced by Microsoft. So there's going to be Windows 10 Home, which is the consumer-focused desktop edition. Windows 10 Mobile. Sorry, my dog's going nuts. Windows 10 Mobile, that's the one for smartphones and small tablets. Windows 10 Pro, that's desktop edition for PCs, tablets, and 2-in-1s. It builds on the features of Windows 10 Home, but for the needs of small businesses, for those who need to manage devices and apps, so like an IT department. Windows 10 Enterprise for, I guess, larger IT departments. Windows 10 Education for schools. This is the problem with Microsoft. Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise, the same idea, volume licensing to customers, and then moving forward. But I'm surprised they went back to Windows 10 Mobile. They're going I mean, it was once called Windows Mobile, but wow. But that's right on topic to what we were just talking about with Apple, where you have, Yosemite. And what a Microsoft thing to do. I'm actually really surprised by this. I wonder, Xbox One is Windows 10 Home too.
I cannot believe how frustrated that just made me.
As Microsoft, right? Or nothing.
That's the whole thing. Everyone thinks that I hate Microsoft. I don't. I used Microsoft products for almost a quarter of a century. I want them to succeed. They are their own worst enemy. It never ceases to amaze me how they get in the way of themselves.
Yeah, it just seems like confusing for consumers. They're going to go to Best Buy and be like, wait, so do I want Windows 10 Home or do I want Windows 10 Pro? And I've had those questions asked me before, especially when I worked at Laptop Magazine and covered computers a lot more. And it does confirm, though, that 10 Home, 10 Mobile, 10 Pro, free upgrades for Windows 7, Windows 8.1, and Windows Phone 8.1 devices for the first year after launch. But still, all the names. I thought the whole point of this, and they said this earlier, was it's just going to be called Windows 10 for everything. And now here you go. And it's Windows 10, Windows 10 Pro, that's just confusing.
Yes, there is, I believe it's called OS 10 server, but it's not something that, that many people have to worry about. But when a consumer walks into a store, I thought after the whole RT thing that Microsoft had learned.
Yeah, really.
RT was a joke.
Well, apparently not.
Microsoft, I swear.
Excuse me.
I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know.
I'm actually really surprised by this because I thought it was a good idea to go Windows 10 and call it like that on everything. Like what's on that phone? Windows 10. What's on that PC? Windows 10. What's on the laptop?
Yeah. And no, we're right back to where we've always been. Consumers, if they walk into a store and they ask a salesman, what is this Mac running? They can go Yosemite. Done.
Yep.
Now you walk into a store and you look at a lineup of PCs and you go, which version of Windows 10 is this running? Oh, well, it's running Home. Okay, well, is Home the one where I can? No, that's so silly. It's so stupid. And I know a lot of our listeners, I know all of you guys, I know that you're going to understand this, but think about your parents. Think about, that guy in class that doesn't understand his own phone. Think about the average consumer that you see walking into a store. They're going to be confused.
Yep.
It's just like every time I hear somebody say, oh, well, just root your phone. Yes, I could root my phone. Can your parents root their phone? More than likely not. And that's the sort of thing. That's where Microsoft is messing this up. Your average consumer is not going to know what each version of Windows does. They're just going to say, oh, it runs Windows 10. Oh, okay, that's fine. But is it running? Have you ever watched the British sitcom, Todd, the It Crowd?
No. I think I watched maybe you sent me an episode or a clip or something like that, but that was
about soccer.
I know of it.
Yeah.
That's
I just watched the whole series finally on the recommendation of Joey, and the way they answered the phone every single time somebody called down with a problem, the first thing they would say was, "Have you tried turning it off and on?"
Or is it plugged in?
Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly it. Although the funniest line in that whole show, they found a suspicious package that might be a bomb, and there was a robot trying to take care of it, and the robot's stuck, and the guy yells down the street, I'm working on it. There's something wrong with the computer. And they yell back, what OS is it running? He goes, Windows Vista. And one of them turns to the other and goes, we're going to die. Which made me laugh so hard I almost had to stop my treadmill. Microsoft, I don't know what to do for you anymore. You're your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Oh, good grief. Well, we're almost out of time here. I can't believe how fast these shows go anymore, and we love doing it. From Sachin Bahal, off topic, are any of you excited for Rock Band 4 or Guitar Hero Live? Again, I've never played any of them. I have no plastic instruments.
Oh, I am. I'm excited. I saw the set list yesterday, I guess. I think it was for Rock Band 4, right?
Yeah. With
I liked those games. I don't have any of the instruments. My roommate had it when I was just out of college, so that's when I played it last. And I don't think my wife would let me.
I was going to say, I don't see her going for the.
So I'm excited for it, but I don't think I'll own it.
Yeah, I don't see her going for a bunch of plastic instruments in your apartment.
Yeah.
Oh, you never know, though. She might surprise you.
Yeah.
Just real quickly going over here. Manav, I see a lot of your questions, but we answered those very early in the episode, so listen to the audio replay later. From Praise and Franco, I bet Verizon is only interested in those 2.1 million users still using dial-up. Who knows? I wonder if they'll even keep it running. That can't be cheap to run. You wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like every quarter it comes out again. Like, here's how many AOL subscribers still had dial-up, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. It's always shocking. Well, I believe that is going to bring this week's episode to a close. As always, we thank you for joining us. You can find us on the iTunes store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, and we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help out the show. You can also find us on Pocket Casts. You can subscribe via RSS feed. You can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Anywhere there are podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. Until next week, I'm Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I've been joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Till next time, take it easy. Bye-bye, everyone.